Come on. Open up. Get off him. Move. Come on. Come on. Oh, hell. Easy, girl. I'm here. Big one. That's a big one. Breathe. Just breathe. All right. Let go of her. Come on. Stay with me.
Easy, easy. I've got you. Hang on, go. All right, under the loop. Come on. Give me that coil. Breathe, girl. Breathe. Back off, you brute. Back. Almost got it. You're free. You're free. Stay with me.
Come on. Open up. Get off him. Move. Almost there. Don't quit on me. Yes. Go, go. Easy, easy. That's it.
Easy now. You're all right. Just breathe. I've got you. It's over.
Under the African sun, the air shimmers, warping the horizon into a watery mirage where silence is a sacred thing. The heat is a physical presence, dense and oppressive, thick with the scent of baked earth and the distant, unspoken promise of rain. A lone truck crawls forward, kicking up a plume of fine red dust that hangs in the still air like a lingering ghost. Inside, a man scans the landscape, his movements slow and deliberate, a silent dialogue with an ecosystem governed by ancient, brutal laws. He is a guardian not just by duty, but by a deep, unspoken connection to this fragile balance. Today, however, the monotonous drone of life feels strangely tight, as if the wind itself is holding its breath. The entire savannah seems to be anticipating a tear in its ancestral fabric, a moment of violence that will disrupt its timeless rhythm and demand a response. It is a sound that shatters the stillness, a guttural, desperate shriek that does not belong in the wild's usual symphony. It is not the roar of a predator on the hunt or the call of a bird in flight, but the raw, unfiltered cry of pure terror. The truck's engine cuts out instantly, and the silence that rushes in to fill the void is even more alarming, heavy with the urgency of that single panicked note. The man's calm focus transforms, his senses sharpening into a razor's edge. He leaves the vehicle without a sound, his heart beginning to hammer against his ribs. Moving on foot, he follows the fading echo of that anguish, the sun beating down on the back of his neck. The savannah, which moments before felt dormant, now feels alive with a hidden tension, its tall grasses hiding a story that has just begun to unfold. He pushes through thorny acacia bushes, their branches scratching at his arms, the sound loud in the unnerving quiet. The world narrows to the path ahead, each step a conscious decision to move closer to the source of that terrible sound. The heat presses down, and sweat traces lines through the dust on his skin. The normal chorus of the bush has fallen silent. No birds call, no smaller animals rustle in the undergrowth. It is as if every living thing is a spectator to a drama they dare not interrupt. His breathing is steady, controlled, but the tension is a physical coil in his stomach. He can smell it now, a faint metallic scent on the dry air, mixed with the smell of fear itself. He slows his pace, parting a thick screen of leaves, knowing that whatever he is about to see will demand something of him. He is only a few feet away now, the sounds of a desperate struggle becoming clearer through the final barrier of branches. Before we go on, comment where you're watching this story from. I want to see how far these stories of courage travel. And if you can, please like and subscribe. It helps keep the mission of protecting nature alive. He takes a final steadying breath, the air hot in his lungs, and pushes aside the last branch. The scene that unfolds before him is one of paralyzing brutality, a living canvas of imminent death. His own breath catches in his throat, and for a long moment, all he can do is stare, his mind struggling to process the life and death struggle happening just inches away, a sight that will forever be burned into his memory. He moves with a purpose that feels alien in the vast, indifferent landscape, each step a deliberate intrusion into a private tragedy. The savannah's familiar hum has been replaced by a deafening void, a silence so profound it feels like a pressure against his eardrums. The sun beats down without mercy, baking the red earth until it cracks into a mosaic of arid veins. His own breathing is the only consistent sound, a rhythmic counterpoint to the hammering in his chest. He follows not a path but an instinct, a magnetic pull toward the epicenter of that fading cry of anguish. The air grows heavy, thick with an unspoken warning, as if the ancient trees and the tall whispering grasses are holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable outcome of a story that has already been written in the dust. He feels like an intruder, a witness to something sacred and terrible that was never meant for human eyes. The terrain resists him at every turn, thorny branches clawing at his skin, leaving thin red lines that mirror the unseen violence he is tracking. His boots sink slightly into the soft dirt, the sound of his progress feeling unnaturally loud in the oppressive stillness. He slows his pace, his eyes scanning the ground, searching for a sign, for any clue to decipher the narrative of the struggle. He finds them scattered near the base of a baobab tree, a flurry of delicate, downy feathers, too small and too numerous for a simple kill. They are a testament to panic, to a frantic, hopeless defense. Further on, a single dark smear on a gray stone catches the harsh sunlight, a stain that confirms his growing dread. It is not the work of a lion or a leopard. The evidence speaks of a different kind of predator, a silent, suffocating force. A faint, coppery scent now taints the hot air, a smell that bypasses thought and triggers a primal alarm deep within his gut. The world narrows into a tunnel of heightened senses, the buzz of a lone fly near his ear, the trickle of sweat down his temple, the dry scrape of leaves under his boots. He can hear something now, a low, intermittent sound that is not a cry, but a strained, guttural exhalation, the sound of air being forced from lungs that are no longer in control. It is a sound of immense, constricting pressure, accompanied by a frantic, high-pitched scratching that seems to come from all directions at once. He freezes, listening, letting the sounds paint a picture in his mind, a horrifying tableau of relentless power meeting fragile resistance. The silence has been broken again, but this time by the intimate sounds of death itself. He is close now, separated from the scene only by a dense curtain of broad, waxy leaves. Through the gaps, he can see flashes of movement, a chaotic dance of color and shadow that his mind struggles to assemble into a coherent image. There is the hypnotic, shifting pattern of scales, a rippling mass of muscle and earth tones. And then there is the desperate, flailing motion of something else, something trapped within that living knot. The air is thick with the hiss of a predator and the terrified, useless chirps of the young. He places a hand on a thick vine to steady himself, his breath catching in his throat. The raw, brutal reality of the confrontation is just feet away, obscured but palpable. What he was about to witness was not just a hunt. It was a desecration, a primal battle that no one in the reserve could ever be prepared to see. He pushes the final branch aside, and the world stops. The sight is a silent scream, a tableau of primal violence that freezes the air in his lungs. In a dusty clearing, a colossal African rock python, a living river of muscle and mesmerizing patterns, is coiled in a suffocating embrace around the body of a mother ostrich. Her long, elegant neck is contorted at an unnatural angle, her feathers matted with red dust and the sheen of her own desperate sweat. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, are still alive, but they hold a terror so profound it feels like a physical blow. Around this knot of life and death, A dozen tiny chicks dart in frantic, helpless circles. Their high-pitched, desperate chirps a thin, useless chorus against the overwhelming silence of the struggle. The sound is a needle piercing the heavy blanket of the savannah's heat, a sound of innocence witnessing the absolute desecration of its world. A cold wave washes over him, a primal fear that rises from the gut, but it is immediately followed by a surge of something else, something fiercely protective. The unwritten law of the bush is clear: never interfere. Nature has its own brutal, efficient justice, and to intervene is to disrupt a balance 1,000 years in the making. But the rules feel hollow here, rendered meaningless by the sight of the chicks circling their dying mother. This is not just a hunt. It is the erasure of a family, the violation of a maternal bond that is as sacred here as anywhere else on Earth. His gaze locks with the ostriches, and in that fleeting connection, across the barrier of species, the ranger's code evaporates. He sees not just a creature in the food chain, but a mother fighting for her young, and in her eyes a silent, desperate plea. The world narrows to the few feet of trampled earth that separate him from the struggle. There is no time to call for backup. The nearest team is hours away, and this battle will be over in minutes. He is alone, armed with only a knife and the weight of his decision. He can hear the dry, rasping sound of the python's scales shifting against the dirt, a sound of immense, unthinking power. He can feel the sun beating on his shoulders, a relentless, indifferent witness. His breath is shallow, controlled, as his mind races, assessing the python's massive coils, searching for a point of leverage, a place where a blade might make a difference against such overwhelming strength. Every instinct screams at him to back away, to let the ancient drama play out. But the sound of the chicks, a constant, high-pitched lament, keeps him rooted to the spot. His hand moves slowly, deliberately, toward the handle of the knife at his hip. The cool, familiar weight of the steel is a stark contrast to the heat and chaos before him. He draws it from its sheath, the blade catching the harsh sunlight in a single, sharp glint. It is a declaration, a final answer to the question that hangs in the suffocating air. The python, sensing a new presence, shifts its massive head slightly, its black, unblinking eyes fixing on him for the first time. The moment stretches, suspended in time. The hissing of the snake, the chirping of the chicks, and the frantic pounding of his own heart merge into a single, deafening roar. He takes one slow, steadying breath, and then another. With a final, silent resolve, he takes one deliberate step forward, crossing an invisible line from which there is no return. He lunges forward, and the world erupts. The python's reaction is instantaneous, a blur of muscle and rage. Its hiss slices through the air, sharp and venomous, a sound of pure aggression. Dust explodes from the ground, a choking red cloud that obscures the sun and blurs the lines between man, serpent, and victim. The heat is a physical weight, pressing down, making every breath a conscious effort. Kai's movements are a desperate dance, his body fueled by adrenaline as he probes for a weakness, a gap in the living knot of coils. The snake's head darts toward him, a dark missile of intent, forcing him to stumble back. From within the python's embrace, the ostrich emits a low, gurgling sound as the pressure intensifies, a final suffocating squeeze in response to the new threat. The chicks scatter in every direction, their panicked chirps turning into a high-pitched, piercing shriek that echoes across the silent savannah. The struggle becomes a raw, physical contest of will against brute force. Kai ducks under a sweeping strike from the python's head, feeling the air displace just inches from his face. He scrambles on the hot, unforgiving earth, his boots slipping in the loose dirt as he tries to find a stable footing. The snake's body is an impenetrable wall of muscle, rippling with immense power, unyielding and ancient. He drives the knife forward, aiming for a space between the coils, but the blade scrapes against the thick scales with a dull, frustrating thud, barely making a mark. In a flash, the python's powerful tail whips around and catches his leg, sending a searing jolt of pain up his spine. He lets out a sharp grunt as the air is driven from his lungs, the blinding glare of the sun filling his vision as he fights to stay upright, to stay in the fight. The environment itself becomes an adversary. The oppressive heat intensifies the chaos, sweat pouring into Kai's eyes, stinging them and blurring his vision. His grip on the knife becomes slick, unreliable. The red dust, churned into a constant storm by the violent struggle, coats his throat and fills his lungs. The taste of dry earth and raw fear, a constant presence. The python leverages its incredible weight, shifting its massive body to try and pin him to the ground, to crush him with the same indifferent force it is using on the ostrich. His breath comes in short, ragged gasps, each one a battle. He is no longer a ranger with a mission. He is an animal fighting for survival in the dirt. The clear line between rescuer and prey dissolving with every desperate, exhausting second. The world has shrunk to this small, violent patch of trampled earth. Suddenly, the dynamics of the confrontation shift. The python, sensing that the man is now the more immediate and persistent threat, begins to uncoil from its prey. The movement is slow, deliberate, and utterly terrifying as its full, monstrous length is revealed, its attention now locked entirely on Kai. The ostrich, released from the suffocating pressure, slumps to the ground in a motionless heap of feathers and despair, her long neck bent at a broken angle. The chicks, who had been darting in panicked circles, fall silent and huddle together under a thorny acacia bush, small, trembling statues of terror. For a long, suspended moment, it is just man versus serpent. The python rises, its head swaying in a hypnotic rhythm, its forked tongue flicking out to taste the air, to read the scent of its new enemy. A cold, primal fear washes over Kai, a deep, ancestral terror of being outmatched by this ancient predator. There is no more room for strategy, no time for thought, only raw, unfiltered instinct. As the python lunges, its jaws agape in a display of lethal intent, Kai does not retreat. He surges forward, moving into the attack, using the snake's own powerful momentum against it. In a single fluid motion born of pure desperation, he brings the knife up in a final upward arc, aiming for the vulnerable spot just behind the creature's massive head, where the spine meets the skull. The impact is a sickening, wet crunch, a sound of bone and cartilage giving way that seems to echo in the sudden stillness. The serpent's immense body convulses in a violent, electric spasm, the sheer force of it throwing Kai backward onto the hard-packed ground. He scrambles away on instinct as the snake thrashes in its death throes, its powerful coils destroying everything in their path. The python's violent thrashing grows weaker, its movements becoming slower, more erratic, less coordinated. The massive body writhes one last time, a final shuddering tremor that seems to make the very ground vibrate beneath him. And then it stops. All movement ceases. The hissing is gone. A profound, heavy silence descends upon the clearing, a quiet so absolute it feels more deafening than the chaos it replaced. The red dust begins to settle in the still, hot air, slowly revealing the aftermath of the battle. The giant serpent lies motionless. The ostrich remains a still, silent heap a few feet away. The chicks are frozen, tiny statues of terror. In the ringing quiet, Kai pushes himself to his knees, his breath catching in his throat, his eyes locked on the unmoving form of the mother bird. The question hangs in the suffocating air, a silent, desperate plea. Was he too late? The air, thick with the scent of churned earth and copper, slowly begins to settle. In the ringing silence that follows the violent storm of motion, Kai remains on his knees, his breath coming in ragged, painful gulps that seem to echo in the vast stillness. Dust motes dance in the shafts of harsh sunlight, illuminating a scene of brutal finality. The immense body of the python lies like a fallen monument, its intricate patterns now dull and lifeless. A few feet away, the ostrich is a silent, crumpled heap of feathers, her form disturbingly still against the red ground. The world seems to hold its breath, the distant hum of insects and the whisper of the wind feeling hesitant as if unsure whether to reclaim the space.
Kai's body aches with a profound exhaustion, but his gaze is locked on the mother bird, his entire being focused on a single, desperate question that hangs unanswered in the oppressive heat. He moves with a slowness that feels both deliberate and dreamlike, his limbs heavy with the adrenaline that is now rapidly draining away. He crawls the few feet that separate him from the ostrich, his hands still trembling slightly, reaching out not with aggression but with a cautious tenderness. He gently places a palm on her chest, feeling for the faintest sign of life beneath the matted feathers. For a heart-stopping moment, there is nothing. Then he feels it. A slow, shallow, but steady rise and fall. A breath. He lets out a long, shuddering exhale of his own, the tension releasing from his shoulders in a wave. His eyes find the huddle of chicks, small, trembling balls of downy feathers, their terror having rendered them completely mute. They are orphans in this silent clearing, their entire world shattered in a matter of minutes, and he is now their sole, unlikely guardian. Kneeling beside the ostrich's head, he looks into her eye. The wild, panicked terror from before is gone, replaced by something far deeper, a lucid, weary vulnerability that mirrors his own exhaustion. In that shared gaze, across the impassable gulf between species, a silent understanding passes between them. They are two survivors on a battlefield, bound by the trauma they have just endured. He sees not just an animal, but a mother whose will to live was a force as powerful as the serpent that tried to extinguish it. He can feel the fragile pulse of her life, a quiet but insistent rhythm against the backdrop of the savannah's profound indifference. There is no fear in her eye now, only a deep, quiet recognition, an acknowledgement of the strange, fragile alliance that has been forged on the very threshold of death. His hand moves to the radio on his belt, the simple, mechanical act feeling foreign and intrusive in this sacred quiet. The crackle of static as he calls for the veterinary team slices through the stillness, a sound from another world. As he speaks in a low, strained voice, he feels a slight pressure against the back of his hand. He looks down. The ostrich, summoning a reserve of strength he could not have imagined, has slowly, deliberately turned her long neck. Her beak, a formidable weapon just moments ago, now touches his skin with a gentleness that feels like a benediction. It is a gesture so small, so impossibly fragile, yet it communicates everything: gratitude, trust, a shared will to live. A single tear carves a clean path through the dust and sweat on his face, a silent testament to the fragile hope that has just been born in the desolation. The arrival of the veterinary team is a quiet intrusion, their movements methodical and sure in the fading light. The sacred, violent silence of the clearing is replaced by the soft crackle of radios and the gentle clink of medical supplies. Kai steps back, his role as a lone combatant finished, ceding the space to the healers. He watches as they work with a calm efficiency that feels both alien and profoundly comforting after the raw chaos of the fight. The sun, now low on the horizon, has lost its brutal edge, casting a warm, golden glow over the scene, softening the harsh lines of the struggle. The savannah itself seems to exhale, the oppressive tension that had held it captive for hours finally releasing its grip. A deep, bone-weary exhaustion settles into Kai's muscles, a physical testament to the battle, but his eyes remain locked on the ostrich, a silent, unwavering vigil. With practiced hands, the team tends to the mother bird. Her shallow wounds are cleaned, and a restorative fluid is administered, the entire process unfolding with a quiet reverence. The sounds are no longer of struggle, but of care, the soft murmur of voices, the rustle of a thermal blanket being draped over her body, the gentle hiss of an oxygen tank. The chicks, no longer frantic with terror, are carefully gathered into a warm, soft-lined container. Their desperate, high-pitched shrieks have softened into curious, gentle peeps, a sound of nascent hope. Kai observes this transformation from a slight distance, a silent guardian who has passed the torch. The wind picks up, a cool, gentle breeze that feels like a blessing against his sweat-soaked skin. It rustles the leaves of the acacia trees, a sound like a soft, collective sigh of relief from the landscape, acknowledging the return of peace. The team begins the slow, careful process of moving the family to the transport vehicle. Kai steps forward to help, his movements stiff and deliberate as he takes a corner of the stretcher. The weight of the ostrich is immense, a solid, living burden, but it feels different from the crushing force of the struggle. This is the weight of responsibility fulfilled, of a life saved rather than a life threatened. As they carry her through the tall grass, the setting sun casts long, dramatic shadows, painting the entire savannah in hues of deep orange and soft purple. The world feels washed clean, redeemed by this act of compassion. He can hear the steady, rhythmic breathing of the mother bird, a quiet, powerful sound that is more rewarding than any words of praise could ever be. It is the sound of a promise kept, a silent victory against the overwhelming indifference of the wild. As the heavy doors of the transport truck close, sealing the rescued family inside for their journey to the sanctuary, Kai stands alone in the twilight. The sounds of the departing team fade into the distance, leaving him once again in the familiar embrace of the savannah's natural rhythm. The drone of insects returns, no longer a signal of tension, but a comforting, timeless hum. He looks down at his hands, still stained with the red dust and a faint trace of blood, a physical reminder of the brutal intersection of life and death he had navigated. A profound weariness settles deep into his bones, but it is accompanied by a quiet, unshakable sense of purpose. He knows this moment will stay with him forever, a silent echo in the vast landscape, a testament to a single, fragile victory won not with force, but with the courage to interfere. The distant rumble of the transport truck fades, dissolving into the vast, open quiet of the savannah. The silence that rushes back is not the heavy, tense void from before, but something lighter, cleaner, as if the air itself has been purified. The last vestiges of the sun's orange glow bleed from the horizon, giving way to a deep, velvet indigo sky where the first sharp points of stars begin to appear. A cool breeze whispers through the tall grasses, carrying the scent of damp earth and the subtle perfume of night-blooming acacia. Kai remains perfectly still, a lone silhouette against the darkening landscape, feeling the profound shift in the world around him. The sounds of the night begin their ancient chorus, the rhythmic chirping of crickets, the low croak of a distant bullfrog, the almost imperceptible rustle of a small creature in the undergrowth. Life, which had held its breath in the face of violence, was now breathing again, slowly and deeply. He begins the slow walk back to his own vehicle, his boots making soft, rhythmic sounds on the packed earth. The moonlight casts long, gentle shadows, transforming the scene of the struggle into something abstract and peaceful. The trampled ground, the uprooted bushes, the faint, dark stain in the dirt, they are no longer evidence of a brutal fight, but simply marks upon the land,
scars that the patient, indifferent earth will soon reclaim and heal. He does not look back toward the spot where it all happened. His senses are tuned forward to the living world that envelops him. The air feels cool against his skin, a welcome relief from the day's oppressive heat. He feels the ache in his muscles, the sting of the scratches on his arms, but these sensations are not painful. They are a physical record of the moment, a grounding reminder that he was here, that he had chosen to act rather than observe. Reaching his truck, he does not immediately climb inside. Instead, he leans against the cool metal of the door, his head tilted back to gaze at the infinite expanse above. The Milky Way is a brilliant, shimmering river across the sky, a silent testament to a scale and a timeline that dwarf any single life or death on the ground below. In that immense quiet, a simple truth settles over him. He had not defied nature, he had answered a part of it. He had not broken its laws, but had instead honored a different, unwritten code, the one that compels a living thing to protect another in a moment of desperate need. He understood then that saving that one life was not about changing the fundamental, brutal calculus of the wild. It was about refusing to let a single, sacred story end in silent, solitary terror when he had the power to offer it a different chapter, a chance for a new dawn. The engine turns over with a low, familiar rumble, a sound that feels both powerful and insignificant in the vastness of the African night. As he pulls away, the headlights cut a solitary path through the darkness, illuminating the tall grasses that sway like a silent parting sea. The red dust rises behind him, a brief swirling cloud in the rearview mirror before it settles back onto the land. The Savannah is left to its own timeless rhythm. The memory of the day's violence, already just an echo, absorbed into the soil, the wind, and the collective consciousness of the wild. The struggle was over, the balance restored not by his actions, but by the relentless, ongoing pulse of life itself. In the heart of the wilderness, every life saved is a form of survival, a quiet affirmation that compassion is the most vital instinct of all.